Hey, my friend, and welcome to Aligned to Rise, the podcast for ambitious women who are ready to rise above their symptoms, release old limitations, and fully rise into their true power and potential. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez, functional nutritionist, performance coach, and former endo and infertility warrior who knows what it's like to feel held back by your body and your beliefs. I've taken a journey of true healing from the inside out so that I can show up feeling great in my body, confident and unstoppable. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Through a blend of functional nutrition and deep mindset work, this show will empower you to reclaim your vitality, trust your intuition, and live unapologetically in your purpose. If you're ready to align your body, mind, and spirit so you can rise to your highest potential, you're in the right place. Let's rise, my friend. This show was created for educational purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for medical advice or treatment. Hey, my friend, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here today. Odds are, if you are listening to this episode, you are on a fertility journey or maybe are about to start one. And that is something that's just super near and dear to my heart because if you haven't heard my story, my journey before, I had a nearly 9-year-long journey from when I first started trying to conceive until actually being able to conceive naturally. And I now have a baby girl who's due in March, which is super exciting. And because I've been on such a journey myself, it's just become a huge passion of mine to help other women who are on similar journeys to get to where you really want to be as well. So what I want to share with you today, I know oftentimes on the podcast, we're talking about some of the, I don't want to say practical advice. This is all practical, but the more physical type supports. Of course, my foundation is as a functional nutritionist. And so I do love to talk about how diet and lifestyle and all of the things can impact your health. However, one thing that I've really been exploring and diving into on my own journey is mindset and nervous system and all of the things. Because at the end of the day, we are not just physical bodies, physical beings. We're all of it, right? You have a physical body, you have a mental body, you have an emotional body. These are all part of you as a whole. And one thing that I've really learned along my journey and something that's been a huge shift for me in the lead up to actually being able to conceive naturally in 2025 is that I really worked on shifting my mindset. And I know it may sound overly simplistic. It may sound like a little more on the woo-woo side of things, but that's okay because I am all about that. And if you're, somebody who loves listening to this podcast, I imagine that maybe you are too, or at least you're interested in learning more about it. So one belief that I really have is that every cell in your body listens to your thoughts. And that's something that happens all day, every day, whether we recognize it or not. Just that our bodies listen to what our minds are saying all day, every day, and that can absolutely influence the way that you feel, the things that you do. And so I want to ask you, just as we start this episode, and this is something you can bring to mind for yourself, what is on repeat in your mind? If you were to just kind of sit back and be an observer of your own thoughts and see what's really coming up, what are the thoughts that you would see on repeat over and over? What's that loop? We all tend to have kind of a loop, a repeat that happens, right? Because for the most part, the thoughts that we have, unless we're really consciously aware of shifting it, the thoughts that we have repeat themselves day after day after day. It's very typical that I don't remember the exact percentage on this, but it's something like 90% of the thoughts that you have are the same exact ones as they were yesterday. We just tend to say the same things to ourselves. So if you're struggling on a health journey, if you're struggling on a fertility journey, because for me, I was struggling to conceive for many years, but at the same time, I was also struggling with endometriosis and all of the pain and everything that comes along with that. And so the thoughts that I had on repeat in my mind for years were things like, my body is broken. I don't work correctly. I work so hard on my health. Why am I still so unwell? And this is never going to work, or this is never going to get better. But here's the thing. Those thoughts that were repeating in my mind, those thoughts actually shape our emotions, which in turn shape our actions, the things that we actually do. And then, of course, the actions that we take affect what happens around us, which then ends up impacting your thoughts and your emotions all over again. So it just becomes this repeating cycle, this loop that we get stuck in. And what I felt as a result of that was I felt defeated, I felt sad, I felt depressed, I felt angry, I felt frustrated. And what ended up happening, my actions as a result of those feelings that I had, was that I had a tendency to just kind of give up on myself. I was making choices that weren't the best for my health and my body. I was finding ways to kind of just numb and disengage from myself and my body. And the result of those actions was just ended up kind of feeding back into that repeating loop over and over and over again. So for me, and this is something that I've been aware of for quite some time. I've worked on mindset shifts in other areas of my life. I've always been really into the personal growth side of things, and it's just something that's always really interested me. However, I hadn't really applied it to my health and my fertility until really for me, it was end of 2024 into early 2025 that I made a decision to make some real shifts in this department. And that didn't happen overnight. It definitely took some doing because my mind had been in a very dark space after going through just years of infertility and pregnancy loss and all of the things, multiple rounds of IVF. I mean, there's so much in my story that I'm not going to dig into all of that today, but it didn't all unravel and click back into place overnight. It definitely took some doing, but at the end of the day, major shifts started to happen. So what I did is I took a look at beliefs that I had built that were limiting me. Beliefs like buying into what all of the doctors were telling me, like you won't ever be able to conceive naturally is one of the things I'd been told multiple times by multiple doctors. What society and or Google searches were telling me, like at this age, fertility will decline, even though in my case, it wasn't great to begin with because I had passed that age of 35 where they just make it sound like the world is crashing down and you'll definitely never get pregnant now if you haven't yet. And then there were my own internal beliefs as well, just those beliefs that I'm broken and my body doesn't work right. And so I started to sit back and take a look at all of these beliefs and slowly started to clear those. And at first, it was kind of just working on that on my own because, what really happened for me, honestly, is that my sister, I guess this was actually a little bit before that, but my sister had a second baby, and through her pregnancy announcement and, sharing progress of her pregnancy and her baby shower and all of the things, I found myself really struggling, and it didn't feel great because at the end of the day, this was my new little nephew and I wanted to be able to really enjoy him and celebrate him because any new life coming into the world is such an incredible thing. But I knew that these thoughts and emotions and all of the things were holding me back from really being able to fully experience that. And so I initially started doing some work on my own just to explore these thoughts and emotions that I was having. That started out with even just doing some journaling, some meditation around what was really coming up for me. I started diving a little bit into some breath work and just some daily affirmations that were really helpful for me, and started to make some shifts. And then, as life happens, I ended up in spring of 2025 completely by accident. It just was one of those very fortuitous moments in time where things just click together exactly as they're meant to be. I ended up discovering NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is all about clearing limiting beliefs and negative emotions and all of the things. And I ended up going to a weekend workshop with a friend who she had been to one of these workshops before and really enjoyed it, really resonated with her. And so I had asked her, like, hey, what's that thing you went to? And didn't even really know much about it, didn't really fully understand what it was, but I just knew that I had to experience it and check out what it was all about. And so I went and experienced it for myself, completely loved the experience. It was wonderful, to the point where I ended up going back a couple months later for a training where I could actually learn to use these tools in my own practice, with working with other individuals who might have limiting beliefs and negative emotions themselves. I mean, who doesn't? And I recognized how important this all was in the healing process and was super powerful. And in fact, that second workshop that I went to, that really the second workshop was more of a training of me actually learning these tools and how to use them with other people. I actually conceived about a week after that process because, of course, as we're learning these tools ourselves, we're practicing with each other. And so I got to really be a guinea pig along the way and cleared so much stuff during that week. So much came up. I feel like there's way more to dive into than I am going to go into on this episode today. But it just doesn't seem like much of a coincidence to me that after 9 years of trying to conceive, having no luck. And during that entire 9 years, I never once conceived naturally. The only time that I had a positive pregnancy test was when we were doing IVF back in 2020. Other than that, I had used zero form of contraception during that time and had never conceived naturally. And after doing that work, clearing the limiting beliefs, clearing some of these negative emotions that were just kind of stuck and holding me back from where I wanted to be, all of a sudden, just completely out of the blue, I ended up conceiving completely naturally and easily and all of the things. And that's pretty cool. So that's what I'm here to share with you all. So I shared with you some of the beliefs that I had had initially, which I'm sure probably sound familiar to some of you. I'm sure I'm not the only one with beliefs like that. So what I started to believe instead throughout this process of, heading in from early 2025 through summer of 2025, I started to shift those beliefs to things like my body is whole and healed. I have the perfect blueprint of health and healing already inside of me. My body is so fertile and capable of growing new life. I'm healthier now than I've ever been. And every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Those were the beliefs I chose to have instead. Now, did I have evidence in front of me that those things were true in the moment that I started to shift those beliefs? No, I did not. But I chose to believe those anyway. I chose to make that my narrative. And what ended up happening is that I started to see more shifts in my physical body. And mind you, this was already years into my work as a functional nutritionist. So I'd already seen so many positive shifts as far as my endometriosis, as far as my period pain and gut issues, and so many things had already shifted in a positive direction. But I did notice that I had even more shifts during this time. Things like my body was just feeling lighter and freer. My skin actually really cleared up. That was one thing that had been kind of an ongoing issue for me was breakouts. I was having acne. It had improved over all the years I was doing this physical work, but it had never gone away. And finally, as I was doing this deeper work, my skin fully cleared up. I have not had a pimple since then, which is pretty awesome. My cycles just became more regular and consistent, started having more positive signs of healthy ovulation and everything. So definitely some wonderful physical shifts that started to happen in that first half of 2025. And my emotions started to shift. Instead of feeling defeated and depressed and angry and all the things I mentioned before, I started to feel more hopeful and happy and content. And feeling that way after years of feeling very low was super powerful. And because I was feeling that way, because I was feeling hopeful and happy and content, my actions started to shift. I started looking for ways to enjoy and get the most out of life now. Things like making memories with my husband, enjoying time with my dogs, prioritizing things that I really love, like getting outside in nature, getting back to some of the things that I knew really helped me to nurture and care for myself, like doing yoga and meditation and breath work and refocusing on my nutrition, all of the things that I knew were really helpful for my body. I felt like I really wanted to do those things because I was feeling better. See how those things it all connects, right? Your thoughts and your beliefs impact your emotions impact your actions, and then that all loops back around again and again and again. And what happened at the end of the day is that I ended up just one day out of the blue, got a positive pregnancy test. I realized that my period was a few days late. By that point in time, I had really regular cycles, so I knew when my period should be coming. I knew that things seemed a little different than usual. And what do you know? After all that time, I had a positive pregnancy test, which was incredible. And the cool thing is, in that month that I actually conceived, I didn't spend that month worried about whether or not I would conceive. I wasn't tracking my ovulation symptoms. I wasn't thinking day in and day out about my fertility. I was simply focusing on feeling good in my body and feeling good in my life and shifting these beliefs to where they felt really good to me instead of just these yucky beliefs that left me feeling awful. And I allowed myself the space to simply enjoy my life exactly just as it was right there in that moment. And that's when it happened. So interesting, right? So for me, I have really been working now these last 6 months or so on really incorporating everything that I have learned along the way into the work that I do in my practice. So by title, I'm a functional nutritionist. However, the work that I do really has expanded far beyond that at this point because I've recognized how important this mindset work and just working through beliefs, emotions, all of the things is so important as well. So it's all of it, right? It's not a one or the other. It's not, you have to just decide, are you going to work on your physical body or you're going to work on your mindset and your nervous system? It's all of it. And so that is really what I have been working on incorporating, putting all of this together. And so one thing that I have coming up in the works here that I would love to see you join, if this is an area where you feel like you could use support, I have an upcoming 21-day program called the Aligned Hormone Reset that if you loved this episode, I just know you're going to love being a part of because we're going to be doing all of this type of work and more. Each week, we're going to be working on nutrition and lifestyle, as well as some of the mindset and emotional supports. We're going to be working on all of it so that we are really hitting it from all angles. So I would love to see you there. Doors are going to be opening up, or the program itself is going to be starting up in February. However, doors will be opening very soon. And if you know that this is something that you're going to be interested in, definitely you're going to want to hop on the wait list to make sure that you're the first to know when doors open. So if you jump into the show notes, you will find a link where you can join the wait list for the Aligned Hormone Reset. Be sure to pop on there and just drop in your name and your information. That way you will get a notification. You'll be the first one to know when doors open. You can save your spot so that you can head into 2026 feeling better than ever, feeling more aligned physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of the things, so that you are bringing yourself into alignment with what your biggest goals are in life. Whether that's working towards fertility or just better health for yourself in general, wanting to feel good in your body again, this is for you. So, hope to see you there, my friend. Much love, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to Aligned to Rise. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment to share it with a friend who needs this message too. And then don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next time, my friend. Let's rise together.